Well, Marc, welcome, and congrats again on 100 years. I had to say you look great.
Thank you. Thanks. First of all, I've always wanted to be on the Las Vegas stage. So
Here we are, and we got some walkout music too.
So, yes, 100 years. Just a little bit of a background of the company. So we're just concluding our 100-year celebration. The company was started by two brothers, and today we're under the leadership of the third generation. Amy Rose, who we're also proud to be a certified women-owned business. And I think, as you mentioned, we currently manage 35,000 units. Geographic footprint is from Philly to Boston, predominantly in New York City, but we're continuously growing. And it's been a great run. We went from 14,000 units in just 10 years ago to 35,000 units today.
That's no small feat.
Yes, it's no small feat. And the history of the company was we were always a self-manager for the first 50 years. Mm-hmm. And the last 50 years, we've been expanding the third-party management business, which really started as a result of a banking crisis in the 1970s, where banks were in distress, taking back assets. And because of our relationships, they asked us to help them out. And that was a catalyst for where we are today.
Nice.
So
the real estate, or the New York real estate community, is very unique. You guys are all very tight knit and close knit. I'm sure it's a very motivating and exciting place to work.
Yeah, absolutely. The camaraderie among the kind of generationally owned companies. There's a lot of sharing of information, a lot of respect for each other. It's we help each other out. It's not. Intuitively, it's not what you would have thought. You think New York has sharp elbows, but it's not. There's a lot of groups that we are constantly speaking to, particularly owner-operators, which are really not our competitive set, trying to help them evolve their companies, to where it is. We spent a lot of time and effort to, increase and be able to grow our portfolio.
That's great. It's one thing I love about our industry. We're all kind of in this together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
nice. Well, as far as tech initiatives go, 100 years, that's a long-standing company, a long-standing way of doing things, I assume. How did you guys begin your tech journey? How did that start? How did the kind of dynamics relate to everything?
So it started when we were the ripe old age of 90. So it was about 10 years ago. We realized that we were falling behind from a technology standpoint, and it was very difficult. It was a lot of self-evaluation. We were working under systems that were really homegrown, that we were not able to expand and bring to what current demands were. And we had the blessing, and some might say challenge, of having some of our colleagues were there for decades. I think we calculated at one point, we had about a dozen colleagues that were there for 30 to 40 years. Oh. So
which is great. It says a lot about your company. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's really the core of the company makes it very exciting that there is, we're family owned, but we're institutional quality. And it's something we take with a lot of pride. And when we started this tech journey, we were cognizant of change and what that could be and resistance to it. We kind of did all these corporate exercises. We actually got every member of the company the book, Who Moved My Cheese, to try to embrace change, try to how to do that. And we did workshops, we did town hall meetings, and we were very fearful that there would be resistance to this. And our fears were unfounded. I think there was a lot of embrace, but we definitely made a lot of missteps on there.
Yeah. And what was the initial motivation? Was it internally or did you see other peers doing the same thing?
So New York was really, the national providers were not in the New York market historically. So basically a lot of the ownership was owner-operators and very little third-party management. So we were lucky. We built up business, phone rang, people said, here you go. And then all of a sudden, a couple of the national providers came into the market, and we realized that we felt we're still best in class in operations, but we were losing that status a bit when it came time to reporting and technology. Mm-hmm. So that was the impetus for it. We really wanted to reclaim our status of best in class of all categories.
So if I'm understanding correctly, you actually had to pull tech providers into New York to get them to start working.
It was
Not working, but working.
absolutely. So New York likes to think it's our way is the only way. So there's a lot of nuances, particularly in the multifamily industry, which is what we are. So I'll backtrack a little bit. So we manage 35,000 units, I mentioned, but we also manage a couple million square feet of commercial space, mostly associated with the residential buildings. Okay. But there's a lot of nuances to some of the affordable programs that exist in New York. So there was a big education and collaboration with some of the tech providers where our team spent countless hours with them to help educate what we need to do.
That's incredible. Did you all kind of lead that process and say, okay, we love what you have. Could we tweak this a little bit and alter?
So yes, and I'm a financial oriented person. I tried to calculate the personnel hours and what we spent doing it. It was a big number that makes me nauseous to this day. But that was one of the missteps that I think I just mentioned was we were constantly trying to force our mindset into what the technology was. Yeah. And we did not, embrace what some of the other people were bringing and some intellectual capital that existed from a national basis. So we kind of stumbled a bit by trying to force it into our system and our mindset.
It's an interesting point though, because a lot of times there are some new tech providers who have no industry experience and come in and do try to put an initiative onto the industry. And sometimes it's amazing and the best thing that we've ever had. But sometimes it does involve a lot of two-way discussion.
100%. It's we have what I mentioned, all of this experience, and then sometimes you have these newer startups that come in and start telling us how we should do. It doesn't always start off in a great conversation, but it is. And there's a lot of, we get, as you can imagine, we get pitched quite a bit. And there's a lot of, this makes no sense. There's a lot of things. And is this really something that's a pain point for us? Because you have to pick and choose, right? We talk about all this technology and how we incorporate it, and we have to pick and choose on a roadmap of what we need to address. Is it really a pain point? Is it not for that?
Yeah, that's interesting. And something you mentioned the amount of resources being put into implementing technology, getting pitched all the time. One of those pitches is often profitability. Have you found that tech is making you all more profitable?
I think the jury's still out on that. I think we still need a little more time on it. I would say in its entirety, I would say yes, but it's which stakeholder are you? So in some cases, the technology may be benefiting the property level. I'm putting the hat on as a manager as opposed to an owner right now. We play both sides of it. Yeah. But from a management standpoint, if the technology enables us to reduce or become more efficient at the property, it doesn't necessarily make us more profitable from a management company perspective. And one of the things that I mentioned, with our missteps was we kind of didn't realize how much we would have to do on the IT side, like building up the proper team on the IT side, and also a learning and development team. So as we're rolling all this out, we now have a learning and development team of 6 individuals, and their constant job, every Monday morning we have new employees, they're onboarding, they're training, their reinforcement of it. And that winds up being an expense, an unreimbursed expense at the, kind of at the management company level. So when we start talking about profitability, there are areas that we've probably saved, but there are areas that we've had to grow. Mm-hmm. And then I also think when it comes to technology, our stakeholders, meaning our clients or owners, are constantly looking for additional information. Yeah. So there becomes a little bit more work. And I think we've had to expand our analytics team as a result of that, because they're slicing and dicing data like they've never done before.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. It's great you have a team dedicated to that in terms of resources. And something I always find so fascinating about our industry is oftentimes we have companies that have these massive portfolios, and the team is actually really small compared to other industries with similar portfolio sizes. How has technology enabled you all as a team to expand and grow and do more and more efficiently?
Yeah. So we couldn't have done it without technology. And I would say one aspect, when we look at all the negatives that came from COVID, the one positive was this embracing of online education and the Zooms or Teams. And that really enables us to make sure we have a uniform quality control. So we're able to train, we're able to speak to our team in real time and not pulling them all into New York for scheduled meetings. If there's an issue, we're able to address it. Mm-hmm. And also with the technology, it allows us to have a lot of metrics. So the biggest thing is, with growth, right? With growth, it's like, do you have the right guardrails up to make sure that we are not falling down on the job? Or are we still maintaining our expectation of level of performance? And if it wasn't for technology and all this online dashboards and business intelligence, everything that we've incorporated, we couldn't do it because we would have no way of understanding what's going on at other properties. So we could have, the worst thing you want is us to fall down on one property that's a larger client, and it goes down a hill we don't want to go down. So I think that's one aspect that the technology has done. It's really let us create, we use KPIs to make sure our leasing staff is responding in a quick enough time. You name it, they have a quarterly metric. So all of our on-site team, like KPIs, that's being measured by the directors and managing directors constantly. So we know if there's a problem, when kind of the alarm bells go off.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. And something that we're all using right now, maybe even, is AI to really expand our capabilities. Maybe even I don't need to hire an assistant to do this for me. I can do this. Right. What are your thoughts on AI?
So my thoughts are, and our head of technology is right here with us, and he's fantastic on this. So there's not. I can't say week. It's probably every day or every other day we're having team meetings on AI. How do we incorporate that? And one of the things, from my career, I'm a little bit older than our team. So yeah, I think when 100 years exactly. The levels of discussion from AI can't be at the executive level. I think we're making a mistake if we do that. We have to embrace our younger colleagues because they're the ones that are going to use it. We have to train them. We have to make sure everyone knows how to kind of make the right prompts on it. And of course, there's a security concern, which is what keeps us all up late at night. Yeah. Is what platform are we using? Is it secure? Do we have it? Is our team inadvertently sharing client information, owner information that should not be out there? So that's for us one of the bigger challenges, but we're using it. We're using it in all different capacities. And I kind of look through your list of all the exhibitors and vendors here. I would say half of them all have either AI in their name, or you read the description, it says AI this. This is here. And I have my own children. I have one in college, one in high school. And I said, you need to know this. And they said, my son in college was like, Dad, of course I'm using it. What do you know? And with that, it's my view is understanding AI. No one has to be a coder on this, but you have to know how to use it. And this is going to be a fundamental skill set that's going to be like right at the bottom of everyone's resume, skills, like whatever training they have. Yeah, same as Excel, right? It's like you could be an expert in Excel. It's not going to get you a job, but it's certainly not, it's going to prevent you from getting a job. And I think AI is going to be the same way, that understanding how to utilize it is, if you don't do it, you're not going to be able to get the job.
It's very important. The security side of things that you mentioned is very interesting. I think that there are some of us who do not want to touch it, do not want to think about it. And then for me, almost I don't know if it's something about AI, but it almost makes me want to trust it. Like I'll send you my pictures. Let's do things like that. It's very interesting. Yeah.
We looked at a report last week about who are the greatest AI users and what platforms are they using. And it was surprising.
Mm-hmm.
It was surprising to a
What
lot
did you
of
find?
we found that there were people working outside of the system that we want them to use to make sure that security is there. So we're locking that down. Like Chris is doing it. It's what he does. We're creating our own internal AI solution or chat solution that looks at our information first and then could go out to the internet or ChatGPT. But we're not sharing the data. We're just beneficiary of the data that exists out there.
Yeah. So. Well, hats off to Chris. That is not easy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then as far as other tech providers, I'm curious your thoughts on what are you seeing? What are you really excited about? What do you think maybe needs to adapt a little bit more?
Okay. In terms of the tech providers, there's, as I mentioned, all of your exhibitors here today, there's redundancy in some of it. I think we all know it, and picking and choosing who's going to be the right provider for us on a going forward basis. It has to be a strong commitment for them to reinvest in it and evolve their system. The most disruptive thing for us would be doing an implementation, all of the training that I mentioned, everything that's there, and then for 2 years for us to have to migrate off of it. That's not beneficial. So when we look at that, I think when it comes to obviously for making something, communicating with all of our other systems, the frustration that we constantly hear from our colleagues is, the tech sprawl and how do they do it, multiple logins, which we've kind of, I think, solved on it, but working in and out of multiple systems. So you don't want to change that. And I think when it comes time to banking aspects, it really has to be agnostic to any of the large banks, because our clients, we don't get to, as a manager, we don't get to dictate what account it goes to. And in the environment we're in right now, banks are really fighting for deposits. So if a client has a loan with a certain bank or lender, it's dictated that it's got to be with that bank. So we used to be able to consolidate, and basically 90% of all of our activity was with one bank. Today, we're in so many, working in so many systems that whatever we do has to be agnostic for it.
Makes sense. So. I don't envy your AP team.
Yeah. So
nice. And then as far as the way you're changing the way you look at residents as far as technology goes, what is that looking like?
So when it comes time to that, we have to meet our residents where they are, and when I'm speaking now with the lens of New York City, because it's whatever it is, 70% of our managed portfolio in the New York City metro area, it tends to be a younger demographic, and we have to meet them where they are. They're not interested in working in the hours that we would like them to do, like the days of a 9 to 5, to respond are over. So making sure, and this is where AI works, is making sure that if they have an inquiry, whether it's on their rent, rent payment, or obviously the leasing process, it has to be something that they feel like they're being heard in real time, and we're able to measure that we could do it. On the same token, there's a lot of different resident experience apps that are out there. They have to integrate with the door entry system, with the security, with all those different items. The worst thing that we really want to have is our residents going in and out of 3 or 4 separate apps. We're trying to make sure they're in one, possibly 2, but the goal is really one experience, because that's what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm. And what's your comfort level on tech as a communicator or representative of Rose? Do you like tech communicating on your behalf? Do you like humans communicating on your behalf? Bit of both.
It's probably a bit of both. It's improved so much that many cases we've all experienced this. You don't know if you're talking to a bot or not. Yeah. So I think it's there. But I also think when you talk about this next generation or the younger generation, they don't care. This is the expectation, right? This is the world they grew up in. I get frustrated as can be on it, and I'm like representative and there.
You're not alone.
but I'm the anomaly. I think a lot of our residents, especially in the newer buildings and maybe in the post college to 35 years old, they're used to this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. And you mentioned growing a lot over the past few years, 14,000 to 35,000 units. How has tech enabled you all to grow so quickly?
It's some of the things that we mentioned. It's all of the items of being able to be responsive, being able to be communicative, making sure that there's a standard of service that everyone is adhering to. That's where we need the tech to be from it. We've, like I mentioned, our learning and development team, it's really that constant reinforcement of what our expectations are, and it just raises the whole team.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then in terms of implementing new technologies, new processes, that's not easy. As a leader, what's your recommendation for building those right processes, motivating the team to really adapt new technologies, services, processes?
Yeah. So I alluded to some of the missteps, and I think one of our greatest missteps that I would suggest to anyone else trying to do what we did was we kept using this term change. And change has this connotation that it's one and done, right? But it's not. This is a metamorphosis where it's a perpetual progression of technology. There's not going to be one, you're done, could now coast for the next 10 to 20 years. This is a mindset that we have to instill. And I think that's where we really failed, is that our team got a lot of fatigue because they didn't understand that this is not one and done. This is always going to be, and this is going to make you better. This is going to make you marketable. Like not everyone stays in their company for their entire career, and we're trying to create marketable skills for them. So I think that was one aspect that if we had to do it over again, we would have recognized. And I think we would have, not to suggest that we had an exodus, but we burned people out on there. And I would also say is a realistic roadmap of what we intend to accomplish. Even with our clients, our owners on our own side, our own portfolio, as well as our team, making sure it's stepped out, that we all have that expectation of it's going to take time and it's going to be there. But for some people, that's exciting, right? Because it's something new every year, every 2 years, you have to do it. I find that exciting. It's a constant evolution of learning, but that's not everyone.
Yeah.
So that's what I believe. It's just making sure everyone knows we're continuing this path.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you would, think about one, kind of really important motivating factor to get the team bought in, what do you come to your team to pitch with the new technology? This will make your job 10 times easier. It'll make you more valuable as an employee. What's your pitch?
I think it's more going back to what I was just talking about, just you're constantly learning. Humans like to learn, right? We do. And I think by having that experience of doing something new, expanding your own playbook, that you get to do something else. And for us, we get really excited. Our head of property management is like, he loves to talk all about our growth in the portfolio. It gets people excited. We sit up, we have quarterly town hall meetings. We always go, how have we grown? What's our growth on it? And people want to be part of something that feels like it's growth. And I think what that also does is there's always a fear with new technology and saying, are they replacing my job?
Yeah.
And with the growth in the portfolio, we're not reducing staff. We're switching roles, we're expanding, but we're generally not, we have not had a reduction in force in an extremely long time. And that's what we try to employ there. We try to tell them, like, yes, there's going to be some other technology that seemingly is going to replace what you're doing. But look, we still need people managers. So I think it gives a higher level of growth and career progression for them.
I love that. Well, that's a great message to kind of conclude us today. I want to thank you so much again, Marc, for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thanks.